to templates and then screens. I mean, that's like the templates and the screens came from development and the rest came from science. And I mean, that's not really logical, I think. And what's missing? Well, I saw a beautiful talk just now. May tools help? Tools will never ever help you because they take the thinking away. Yeah, that's the right thing. Tools will never help you. They take the thinking away of how to structure things. I mean, can anybody? I mean, sure, you can see that right here. Hey, this goes into this and this goes into this. But then, how do you structure that? Like, how do you make designers understand that there's a hierarchy in your design and how that there's categories and that there's conventions that we all follow so that we all use the same structure. So I went on a little research and I found a convention that we all know, which is paper sizes. And paper sizes are abstract sizes that follow a system of scale and that are designed for design and development. So a designer can work with them because he knows the dimensions, and a developer as well because he knows this is the paper size I need to use for printing if you want to split those up. And there's also another one that we know, font sizes, right? Designers know heading 1 and stuff, but developers know also heading 1. It has a code it follows, and that's the big difference. So it uses abstract sizes and scale and a code for both designers and developers, and that's what I was looking for to create Atom libraries, and I will come to that in a bit. And also found one other cool thing. Maybe developers know this, real-world examples. They basically test how fast front-end engines work. And they have a API spec that the tests follow. So there's already a convention of how to set that up, and they can just swap out entire front ends. And I think that's really awesome if you want to go really fast or you want to try stuff out without breaking things. Like HTML and CSS, you just swap out a CSS file, and that's it. So I was like, yeah, this is what it needs to be. It needs to be instantly exchangeable, and it needs to follow an abstract structure, an abstract structure that follows scale and code. So I found how to do that, which is an Atom library structure. This sounds maybe weird, but if you think in if you think in the numerical scale that starts at 0, right? That's the absolute beginning of numbers. Then Atom library starts at 0. So A0 are your colors and your fonts, because that's they don't use any other smaller parts than that. And when you start using an icon, that icon uses the color and the graphic, but that is already containing 2 atoms, so it moves up to a bigger scale, which is A1. And that's how you basically continually build up your libraries by looking at the components that you use and just saying, if this is bigger than that, then that needs to go into something bigger. And it's really a simple logic that you follow, because if you do that, if you make that a convention within the teams that you use, you get something nice, which is what I'm going to show you now. So this is the Wireframe library, and this here is the Visual Design library. So let's say, let me check something first. Yes. So let's say I would use. Oh, by the way, this is Sketch Runner. If you don't know it, yeah, I'm also going to show you that I'm going to teach people how to do this. So don't worry if you're like, oh, after this talk, what I need to do. Say this is my entire design, but like I have hundreds of these screens, right? Let's say I have hundreds of these screens, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go from wireframe to visual design in one go. Then the only way to do that is if you use the exact naming convention for both libraries. So right now I'm going to unlink these ones from the library that I use. And yes, I have a script for that that says detach symbols from library. Unfortunately, that doesn't work in the latest version that I use of Sketch, so I have to do it manually. But what you are able to do is, like, say you have hundreds of designs in that file, you can just run them all through, detaching them from the library that they're used to belong to, so that they're now in the file. What I'll now do is say, okay, turn to, wait, oh no, where are we? Yeah. So I will say, well, I first need to install this library, or activate it. And because that library is now loaded and it uses the same naming convention, you can just say, okay, let's just replace these symbols from a new library. So I will say it's this library. And it says, I found 4 symbols that I want to replace with 4 instances. So I say import. And now all my interaction designs are instantly changed with visual designs. And if you did your visual designs really well and you did them according to spec, this is actually ready for development handoff. So that's how you can because why I think libraries are really important is I think wireframing is a little bit overdone now because you have sketch libraries. Because what's really cool, what I got working, is you can wireframing. I think will go back to paper because I started drawing these screens on paper, and because I used the naming convention, I just wrote down A1/color1 because I know how the structure works and how I set up my library. I import them in Sketch, and I can just instantly replace them with the symbols that are using the same naming convention. So you have an abstract, logical structure that follows a logical scale that you all know, like paper and like headings and fonts. So people can like really easily understand how they work and then easily learn how to build one up. And I think when you start using that across multiple teams, you will start to see that there's a very simple logic that you all can follow and to agree to so that all the libraries always stay in sync. And once you want to swap something out, it doesn't break all the other layers. So let's say you only want to swap out the A1 symbols. It just swaps out the A1 symbols. It leaves the color symbols from the A0 and all the others intact, just like HTML. So I think if you work with libraries this way, it's much more design code rather than random design.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
What in this case, like this is a fairly simple
Yes.
design.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like A2/A2
Yes.
container 01.
Yes.
But what if you have like a complex design with like 7 layers? Then
Yes.
you have to memorize all those 7 codes. How do you cope with that?
So basically, let's say you would have a color that starts at the bottom layer. Then you would have an icon that uses a color in the graph. Then you would have a button that uses a color to graph in the icon. It just goes on to the next level. But if you get like Bootstrap, if you see that like they have very simple naming conventions to name their buttons, like button S, M. They have a really good way of structuring that. The thing that I want to set up with Atom Library 1 right now is to set up the basic structure to build these libraries, because other than that, like, it needs to be transferable knowledge that is easy to understand for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you already asked the question is already a good sign that after this stage, like, where does it go? It gets a little blurry. And I think if you look at atomic design principles, you'll see the same thing. You have atoms, molecules, then you get organisms, and then like screens, right? Fuck it. And that's what you get if you don't understand how to follow that logic. But yeah, basically, I just think about it really abstract. Like, okay, if this new thing is bigger than the old thing because it contains all the other ones, then it needs to go up in a higher container. How you order that, we need to find out, because we're at the beginning level. We need to still apply it to practice in a real world project in order for us to find the logical patterns to follow and to structure your symbols in your library. Why do I want to structure it this way? I think for a developer, it's much easier to follow all these structures. Like,
but like with the Bootstrap example you mentioned, it's like more readable, and this is more like more code.
Okay, let's go back to the presentation. Yeah. So here we are. So here, A1 heading success, or A1 heading, which is a variant, right? So this is not final, and I will also ask you guys why I want to. Oh, but almost forgot. I have on my phone link, and I would like to ask you all to fill out your email. Just a second, sorry for this. Almost there. There. So, and you can fill out your email because after this, I will, if you want.
What?
Because here's the thing, I'm going to fast forward in this presentation a little bit, because if you want to go fast, you want to go along. Because until now, I've done, I'll come to you really. I will come, if you want to go alone, then it's great if you understand, but if you want to work with a team, first you all need to get up to that same level of understanding how to use it, and then if you want to go further with that, you need to go together. So that's why I'm asking you guys to enter an email, because I'm going to set up a private group to set up Atom Library 1, so that other people get a really good foundation to build up and learn about how to structure their libraries, and they actually get some education as well to create a convention and possibly even a standard to use to build one. It's not like this is the Holy Grail. No, this is like the starting point. Exactly.
So if I want to start from the scratch,
Yeah.
I have to fill it in. What if I'm like approximately on the same level? If I want to talk to you and blame you for showing my picture.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah,
Life's full of risks, huh?
I'll find you.
Yes. You can. Sorry, that lady there had a question.
No, it was kind of a comment on top of what he's suggested.
Yes.
What worked really well for me is that I set up a library very similar to theirs.
Yeah.
That in that file, whatever it's a core style symbol, so whatever is a theme, because from what I understood, you only change individuals, right? Like branding your style guide or branding your atoms. So yeah, without changing the structure of the components.
Yes. Here's what you could do if you would. I'll come back. Just like say I have a really cool icon set, but I want to swap it out with somebody else's icon set, right? Because if you use that same structure and that same naming, you can just say, okay, screw it. I'm gonna throw in all my icons. I'm gonna import this, and then voila, I now have new designs.
Yeah.
Is that answering something?
No, I was actually suggesting on the message.
Yeah.
So at least from what I understood from the question was that to me what worked really well was to set up in this file whatever is theme or whatever is the core visual styles, because you're changing colors, you're moving shapes, etc. But you, from understanding what you want is to style this library as a template, right, to work with your project.
I want to make that library shareable, swappable, ready for change, ready for expansion, whatever, right?
But the team can deconstruct and completely break it down and build their own topics.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
So it doesn't matter that it's one single project. It can be anything. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And say you would build up a completely different structure, apart from maybe the basic ones, then you could still swap out atoms from other libraries that people share online. So it's not even have to be from your own team, but maybe you find some libraries really cool, like, holy shit, these colors are perfect for my app. Just swap out those colors, and the rest of your library stays intact. That's it. That's yeah. It's like I said, designing clothes, so just changing a CSS file. Oh, yes.
Question about the email. I don't use Sketch because I run Linux, but I know a design team who uses Sketch that I used to work with, and I have no interest in being in this group, but I think that his team would. Would you rather, I mean, if an email is put in there, do they just suddenly out of the blue get a crazy email? Or what would I want to do if I wanted his team to get involved in this, but only after I first sent him an email saying, hey, are you interested?
first of all, Link sends you my business card
Okay.
in an email, so you know more about me than I know about you.
Oh, you should have mentioned that in the beginning, then I would
Even the second round.
It hasn't gone through everywhere anyway, so.
No, here's the thing, you'll get my contact details. Link is more about the digital business card, because I just hate doing business cards, which you lose them, you never follow up. Yeah, and so if your team, if your friend wants to contact me, yes, please, I think that's really cool. Because I'm now going to show you the simplified roadmap of Atom Library 1. And one is, it's going to be private first, because I want to first test it out with the team, and I hope to have the guys from Liberty Global here, because that is like the perfect example of how you could use these, because they have like multiple platforms with multiple devices for an infinite amount of countries, with they all have their own individual style and stuff, and that would really speed up their design process just by swapping out a few symbols. Because if you use those sketch files in like your framer prototypes or whatsoever, just update your Atom symbols, they will update all your designs, and your designs will be neatly updated into the software that you choose. So it's not about it's not about styling. It's actually about working faster together, getting to a convention that designers and developers really understand more easily. So creating an alpha library that is good for everybody to start with. And then the second part is because I really noticed when I worked at Liberty Global that not really a lot of people had a really good understanding of sketch libraries and all the complexities it entails. So to create the resources to educate and skill Atom libraries, because I would really find it really cool if there's the sketch community itself starts to swap out libraries that are using this convention, and like, hey, cool, I can just use his colors and his cards, they're fucking awesome, his buttons and his screens and whatnot, because yeah, it's just basically swapping out a few lines of code and that's it. And then a public release, of course. So, thank you. Yes.
So I don't know about Designer Worlds, but is there something like Git and GitHub for designers
Yes.
where they can share this kind of stuff?
Yes. So
What do you
this
guys use?
I will use Cactus. It's been developed by one of the software engineers at Sketch itself, and it uses GitHub. So basically, what it does, it will create a repository of your sketch file that you can then use and then regenerate that sketch file.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was my question. How to manage version control.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's actually a new one that released like last week. I still need to check it out. I didn't use it yet. I don't like abstract, to be honest, because it has content blocking. I don't like Zeppelin for the same reason. I don't like. Yeah, I don't like.
Cactus didn't work for us. It was so buggy that we just couldn't use that.
Check the new update, version 0.5. Yes. Oh, sorry, Mom. Sorry.
Isn't A0 the largest paper size?
Yeah. No. No, because like you can start counting upwards from 0.
Yeah.
But how do you know that this is the biggest one?
I know.
See, Pedro, he's thinking like a developer, starting with 0 instead of 1. Brilliant.
No, yes, ladies.
From a designer perspective, I understand swapping out colors,
Yeah.
but swapping out text and fonts might be a little bit difficult because fonts have different sizes, meaning that you have to move all your symbols down a couple of pixels.
You should check out Anima, because what they really did really well, they made a plugin that's called Stacks, and it actually uses Flexbox. So when you start scaling your designs, it will automatically use the same padding, because that's why I think designing code should really like do this. Yeah. Hey, okay, yeah.
How much freedom is there in this process still for visual designers to put some creative view on the interaction design? If they see an interaction design and think like, okay, we can upgrade this, or if we have to, if we move some elements around, comes across better for whatever reason. How much room is there for that in this type of process?
I think that's a really good question. How many room is there for? I think that's up to, so say you would want to make a change, right? I think regarding the process of how you do that as a team, you say, okay guys, maybe you have a sandbox environment, you say, whoa, we should try this and that, and then we all go crazy, like do a whole game jam, and wow, we got a really awesome design. And then like, yes, this needs to go into the library. Okay, let's put it in the library. So I think you shouldn't see this as the Holy Grail or the book of God. Like, oh, if you don't pray every day, you're gonna end up in hell. No, it's not like that.
To me, sometimes it then feels like you're already expecting interaction designers to do all the margins and headings correctly and have exactly. So that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, no. It's yeah, just like just like HTML, CSS. It's really like that. Yes.
So you built everything on the atomic design approach.
Yes.
I'm a super fan of atomic design.
Yes.
We also use it in my company.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, there's like an expectation that designers should be familiar with atomic design, and also that the product are built on top of atomic design. Because you think that, might happen with this miscommunication if designers are building everything in atoms, blah, blah, blah. And then the product follows, for example, a component-based approach. How do you see?
I think atomic design is by definition component-based. Could be me, but if you, let's say you would try to look for a structure to use in your designs in Sketch, right? Then look for development, because that's where it's going to happen.
Yeah, so for example, if you mentioned Bootstrap, right?
Yes.
Bootstrap, as far as I know, it's more a component-based approach, right? So we don't talk about atoms, etc., etc. So if your product, you're only customizing the UI, as I think you're suggesting, and in the front end, it's not really atoms, or the CSS is not styled as atoms. Would it be complicated for designers then to say that this is a A1 or the margin, blah blah blah? You have to have another layer of communication with developers, to.
I think yes, you're right. I do think that. In CSS, like you already also have atomic principle, but say you work in Sketch with really small atoms, you could actually, I think it would be sensible, I think this is good for, first of all, to prove, that's one. But to look at, if you use Bootstrap, from what, I don't know, category, atom tier, should we start using components that actually reflect what we use in development, so that the other layers, you can still adjust them. And when you make a change, it goes through all the components without touching the components in a way that nobody understands anymore.
Yeah, that was what happened for me, because you wanted to do atomic approach, but you have to explain designers, and you have to talk to some designers, and in the end,
I think this is the exact reason why I want to use an abstract system of scale. Right, so that you can still say, okay, we'll go up to this level, and then
and go crazy.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for content there's something similar.
Speak a little louder.
Sorry, there's something similar called inverted triangle of CSS. So it's your triangle flipped upside down, and it's saying that you first do your globals where your color palette goes, and then move down to that on the specificity. So I think this goes really well with your designs.
And that's why I want to have design and development at some point really come together, so you can get exactly that.
Should designers code?
Yes.
Throw that one in there.
I mean, it's basically trying to fit sort of a coding approach into Sketch.
I don't think it's a coding approach. Like, you know how to use headers, right? Designers know how to use headers. They know how to use paper sizes, I hope, right? They know how to use screen sizes. They know those. No, we don't want to use headers. I don't think designers should code, because they would make the life of a real coder really hard. So I think designers should know how code works, and how to follow logic, because that's what the code is.
Okay, thank you very much, Guus.
Yeah!